When I start getting to these teams and these recaps that are in like the 10 to 20 range in terms of the draft, you see some common themes, right? Common themes of they don't have great quarterback play. They have some flaws on their teams, but they might have some star players. And they might even have some runs during the regular season where they rattle off some victories and they look good at times. But then eventually there's a course correction. Reality starts to set in. And they end up being one of those teams that just kind of spins in place. Cycle of mediocrity. And this shouldn't be a surprise to Titans fans or piss off Titans fans, because you have to know the team that you're talking about. You have to know your team and know that this is not a great team. And even if you want to say, hey, over the past couple of years, they've had some good runs, and even at one point they were number one seed in the playoffs or whatever the hell you want to say, that was like smoke and mirrors. You know that they were just doomed for failure at some point. It was hard to take them seriously as a real Super Bowl threat. They really were. And that's, I think, because they just don't have enough on offense. They don't have enough at the quarterback position. And you look at the way kind of 2022 started out and how it finished, right? And you say, this is what the Titans can be, and that's kind of what you can expect from them. They actually started off 5-2. But even when they started off 5-2, it didn't really feel like a team that you were going to take all that seriously. At least they did to me. And even when they were 7-3, I'll admit, I totally thought that they were going to be the ones that won the AFC South, and at that point, you'd be crazy to say that they weren't the runaway odds-on favorite. But, there was a difference between, hey, you're going to win a crappy AFC South, and you're actually going to be a contender in the playoffs in the AFC. Not going to happen. You know that. What's crazy about it is you start off 5-2, and then you're sitting there with 7 games left in the season. You're at 7-3. You're in a weaker division like the AFC South. All of your wins have come against non-playoff teams. You got to figure a way to limp home, right? Win a couple of those last 7 games, get to 10 wins, find a way to cinch the division, get yourself a home playoff game. Yet the Titans managed to lose their last 7 games to close out the season. So they go from being a team that should have at least finished like 10-7. They finished 7-10. And you could say, well, that's because that late season injury to Ryan Tannehill really hurt them. And they lacked a clear-cut, viable number 2 option behind him. Malik Willis certainly didn't look ready as an NFL passer. Josh Dobbs is a journeyman type of guy for a reason. And those are fair and valid points. But they weren't great with Tannehill there. They had already started their nosedive. It just was precipitated more quickly once Tannehill went down. But this is a team that, when you look at them offensively, scored 20 points or less in 7 of their last 9 games. So that includes several of Ryan Tannehill's starts. You could sit there and say, well, what else went wrong with them? You could say, hey, you traded away A.J. Brown, brought in a Treylon Burks. A.J. Brown goes to Philly, has a nice season. They go to the Super Bowl. Treylon Burks, who you drafted to basically replace A.J. Brown, only played 11 games, finished with under 450 receiving yards. Maybe you like the upside there, but there's no question, like you trade away A.J. Brown to draft a Treylon Burks, or to draft Burks, you're going to have a bit of a backslide offensively. And then you combine that defensively by having the worst pass defense in the league. You struggle to throw the ball well, consistently, and you struggle to stop teams. You're horrendous against the pass. But maybe you're better against the run defensively, and you're a great running team offensively because you have Derrick Henry healthy for the vast majority of the season, and he has a nice year, puts up big yardage. You look at the Titans and you say, if this was a team that was playing in the 90s, they might have a chance. You could see, though, why they fired John Robinson, the general manager. And maybe in part that's because Mike Vrabel won a power battle with Titans ownership. Certainly seems that way. But the whole construction of the roster was very 90s. Like when you got a GM talking about, we want to play physical smash mouth football, that should be a warning sign right there. The guy doesn't know what the fuck game he's in. Again, you have to know the game that you're in. And building a 90s style roster in the 2020s is a recipe for inevitable failure. So we'll see if the Titans go out and are able to do anything in this offseason. They just don't have a lot of cap space. They got a little, but not a ton. They did just cut Taylor Lewan, so now you've also got an issue in terms of a gap at left tackle. But beyond that, you look at the roster construction. Again, I come back to this with the Titans. 6 of their 8 highest paid players are on the defensive side of the ball. That's not ideal in the modern NFL. You don't want it to be anything more than a 50-50 split. And if you're going to be paying more people, you want more of your highest paid players to be on the offensive side of the ball. That's how the modern NFL game works. This team has invested way too much in the defensive side of the ball. Yes, Jeffrey Simmons is great. Harold Landry, pretty good. Byard, stud. But bottom line is, that's not your key to success. And you have invested all that money onto the defensive side of the ball, and your pass defense statistically was one of the worst in the league, and you were 32nd against the pass in terms of yards allowed per game. The formula ain't working. So we'll see if Carthon, the new general manager of the Titans, tries to make some type of move for a quarterback this offseason. I was wondering with the Titans, would they be a player for Tom Brady if Brady didn't retire? Would they be interested in an Aaron Rodgers? There's some talk about, could they be players in trying to pry away Trey Lance from the San Francisco 49ers? And the 49ers are going to let Trey Lance go. They're idiots for doing so. At this point, the Titans could get him in. That would feel like a major win to them, because I can't really see why you would want to bring Ryan Tannehill back in 2023. Because it's like it took the Raiders years to finally figure out, hey, no matter what, and it's not just on the quarterback, there's other problems here, but fundamentally, how much money do you want to pay to a guy whose ceiling is capped in terms of how far he can take you as a quarterback? He's not going to be that dude to take you to the promised land. So I don't know what the Titans are going to do in this offseason. They're a team sitting there with that 11th overall pick in the first round. I absolutely think that they should be very aggressive in trying to move up and get one of the quarterbacks in this draft, especially when you look at them and the competition that they have. Again, knowing the game that you're in, with the Texans at the 2nd pick, potentially going quarterback, the Colts at the 4th overall pick, either taking a quarterback there or potentially trading up to take a quarterback. Do you really want to be the Titans in a division where you're the one with the retread veteran that stinks or is mid? Meanwhile, the Jags have Trevor Lawrence. The Texans have a young quarterback to build around. The Colts have a young quarterback to build around. You're just left out in the cold. So we will see, and it's not a terrible Titans team. It's just, again, their ceiling is capped. They feel like a team, until they shake things up dramatically, is going to be a team that wins 7 to 10 games, somewhere in that range every year. But even if they get to the playoffs, there's no chance in hell they're going to the Super Bowl.